As we approach another week of online church together and sharing communion, but from home, I thought it would be a neat opportunity to talk to you as parents about how you can talk to your kids about communion. If you're like me and you've been in a service where there's communion and you've got children crawling all over you, trying to understand why it is that you get to have a snack and they don't, it can be really frustrating and overwhelming, and you just kind of want to let it go. But the significance of the moment is worth being prepared for. So, as is the case with most things in parenting, a little bit of pre-prep work makes all the difference in your worship experience and in the opportunity to be able to communicate something really important about your faith to your kids. The first thing is to have a discussion about communion with your kids before Sunday. Keep it super simple. Say something like, in service on Sunday, we're going to be having communion. And communion is a special time where we remember that Jesus, who is perfect, came and paid the punishment for you and I because we're not perfect, so that we could have a relationship and a friendship with him forever. In the Old Testament in the Bible, God's people would have a special occasion called Passover. Passover was a time where they would remember that God had protected them from harm. They would share in a drink, and they would share some bread, and they would remember that it is God who gives them life. Now, when Jesus came, Jesus would do this with his followers, but instead he said, this bread is my body. It is my life, and I'm giving it up for you. When you do this, remember me. And so he gave his life so that we could be forgiven from our wrongdoing. And with communion, we remember that. So communion isn't a snack like your popcorn and your slushies upstairs. Communion is something called a sacrament. Now, a sacrament is a fancy word basically for explaining a special promise that God honors. It's kind of like the difference between having a pretty ring that I'd be sad if I lost, or my wedding rings that I'd be really upset if I was to lose, because it's a symbol of a really important commitment that I made to my husband and that my husband made to me. So, when should your child join in communion? For Chad and I, we decided early on that after our children had been baptized and made public their decision to follow Jesus for the rest of their lives, that was a good opportunity for them to start to understand the significance of the moment of communion. Chances are, if your child is whining and complaining about how unfair it is that they don't get to have a snack, they're missing the significance and the understanding in what's happening during a communion service. Having said that, realize that it is so important that they see that you are participating in communion and that they understand how significant it is for you. I hope that helps a bit. The significance of showing that communion is a sacrament, something important that happens in your faith life, to your child is worth putting up with a moody preschooler or elementary school kid. Remember, you are the most significant influence in the spiritual life of your child. Let's not miss it.